Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Beyond Max Q. I am Mollie Jahner, your host. I am so excited for today. Melissa and I have been trying to connect for months. I met her on another event. She is just one of the most tremendous people I've had the pleasure of meeting. VC, founder, exited founder, talent scout, and just all around good person. I just have the honor of introducing Melissa Chalfant of Inventures. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you. I know we've been trying to do this for so long. We met through Kurt Walker. Hat tip, shout out Kurt Walker. He knows how to connect really amazing people. So
You do it.
fast friends, and I'm glad we finally get to do this. We were just talking a little bit about what I've been up to lately. Lately, I have been professionally asking for money. That's kind of how I describe it to people. I
I
just
love that.
ask for money all day, every day. Transition from my PTO jobs of raising, capital for my kids' schools, transition that into raising capital for startups.
You should
So
start giving out cookies when you you're like, "Oh, have some Thin Mints, it'll make it
thank
better,
you.
and also I need $6 million."
So, yeah, my story, I really literally stumbled into this, I say stumbled into it, but those who know me, know that I probably had always been here. I just I hadn't organized it into, like, this is what I do for a living. I was lucky enough right out of school, I was lucky enough to work for some defense contractors in Southern California. So my very, very first job, I sold semiconductors that were made in California. So that was Maxwell Technologies. Met some really cool people there. I feel like I got recruited away from Maxwell to Shorebeam, which was a division of Halliburton. So we sold irradiation services.
Big deal.
Uh, yep. So that was exciting. So working for, big defense contractors in my 20s, I mean, I don't think I really understood what that meant, right? I mean, I knew that we were pre-IPO. One of the companies we were working towards, ringing that bell. And so I got to be there during the beginning phase of that. I worked with the engineers. I was on the trade side of the marketing department after leaving the finance department. And so it was my job to whittle down what engineers used as their sell sheets. And so I had to like break down engineering terms.
You're the
in-
translator.
Yep. So, and that was a skill set that I think is really what brought me to this world, where I take deep tech, mobility tech, hard tech, and translate it into terms that investors can understand at the end of the day. That's really what I'm doing now.
And you've accumulated this cohort of some of the most talented, honestly, companies and founders I have had the privilege to meet. Can you talk about, like, how you go about that process?
Yes, I mean, it's humbling. It's humbling when I don't think that I set out to meet any of the founders that I met. I started with one of I do coaching and mentoring on the weekends. It's part of the way that I started a network when I moved to San Antonio. I'm in San Antonio, Texas now. And I wanted to meet other business owners, right? So I started mentoring and coaching. I have, the financial background and the marketing background gave me a good idea of how to help people build their business plans, right? And so one day I was at our incubator here in town, which is Geekdom, and there was a guy sitting across from me at the speed dating round, and he said, "I build autonomous drones, and they can stay aloft indefinitely." And I was like, "What? What did you just say?" So, and then everything that came out of his mouth after that was so like, I was like, "Wait a second, you lost me, lost me." So I said, "Book a coffee, let's sit down and I'll see if I can help you translate this, into terms that a layperson could understand." So we went on that journey together, started raising capital for him, and we just have an absolute blast together. We had a blast building his pitch deck. All of the rest of the founders have come along the way. I kind of feel like we're chugging along in this little
You're
train.
like collecting people, I feel like, and it's just like, come along, yeah, I love it.
Come on, come on. We meet a lot over pizza and beer. We kind of affectionately, our WhatsApp group is called Pizza and Beer. No, no kidding. And so they're just it's a bunch of engineers, a bunch of scientists, guys and gals that are solving some amazing, amazing, amazing things. And it is technology and geniuses that are they're just untapped. Their talents are untapped, and I'm just so honored and excited. Drones to motors to technology that can see through drywall to
Which is
um,
crazy, by the way, just that state,
quantum. Yeah,
like,
quantum physicists. Yeah. So, I mean, I know I'm leaving so many people out, but it's,
but
yeah, just,
who's the space cow? It was like the AI cowboy, or there's one that you have, like the branding on that was that always
isn't
made me
it
laugh.
so fun? Yes, that's Michael. Yeah, Michael Pendleton from AI Cowboys. He and I sit on one of the boards together. So Analog Physics is the company. They have UAS and counter UAS technology. Quantum physicist. It's a fantastic, fantastic guy, Lars. And so Michael and I sit on his board together. So we take on role not just we're not just raising capital for the portcos. We really do come alongside of them. It's the only way that I know how to do it. I mean, when I first started angel investing, people told me like, "Oh yeah, you just give this founder your money," and I'm like, "And then what?" Like,
How do you protect your investment?
and then what? Well, and the founders were like, "And now what?" Right? Like, "Okay, I have the money, but I'm a solo founder. What happens next?" So my team, we meet every single solitary week, and probably a few of us talk almost every other hour, right? Just supporting and building up and making introductions and honing and I mean, building out pro formas and go-to-market strategies and being at all the right places, making sure their stories get told. And that's how you and I met, right? Because I was like, I need you to meet my cohort. Like, I want you to meet everybody. So I gave everybody, 5 minutes so that you and your team could get to know them a little bit. And I know it's going to build into lasting, relationships. So
Well, and this is a whole podcast for founders and funders alike, and you sit at that intersection, I think. You've been both, you are both. I would love for you to just kind of talk about that story and, exiting your own company, what it looks like now. I'm an angel investor. I mean, I know it's a lot about networking and partnership, but just you're giving advice to both sides of that equation.
sure. Yeah, I didn't set out to exit. I mean, that really wasn't my plan, right? I had planned on spending the rest of my career in my business. Circumstances changed and I wound up getting, my portion of my business got bought out. And then I went from here, I ran a very successful business. It was fantastic. And I loved the work that we did and the team that I built. It was like everything that I'd always had carried along with me from all of my jobs and everything I'd done in the past. I really, truly created a business that was perfect, perfect for me. Exiting that and then being faced with what to do next. It's just like everyone else. Like, what do I do? Where do I
For a
invest?
while, let's take a break. Let's go on a boat, a hike in the jungle. It wasn't what you you didn't do that.
No, absolutely not. I started taking classes right away. I mean, I really thought that I would get into real estate investing. It was something that intrigued me. And I liked it. I took some classes with one of my girlfriends. But then when I started understanding a little bit about technology and how desperate some of these people were, even the smallest checks made a huge difference. It gave them that peace of mind of like, my technology is protected, right? Like, I have IP that's protected. I can defend it. I can talk about it at, these happy hours. And so I realized that very small checks were making a huge impact. And so that's really where the thesis came from, is that I wanted to bring other investors alongside of us so that we could continue to write those early stage checks. We can help them through validation with partnerships like universities and like, the work that you do, helping to
Mhm.
connect them to grants and
Right.
research opportunities to get them from, does it spin? Does it fly? Does it do what it says it's going to do? You know what I mean? Getting them outside of, people think that, oh gosh, is this guy for real? Is his technology for real? So we bring them to that validation with really small check sizes. And then we're happy to spin that up to the next guy, right? And the guys that can help him do the go to market and build a team around them. And that's the perfect place for us to wish them well. And now you go on
We're
to
here for
your
pizza and beer, but goodbye, goodbye.
exactly. We will be your biggest cheerleaders and fans, but then it allows us to go back and find those new founders that just need a team and they just need coaching and mentoring and sometimes just a pat on the back and you got this and we're going to figure this out and just stick with it. You know, the customers are right around the corner. So,
Well, I love that, and it kinda leads into my next question, which is you see so many companies all the time. I'm sure your inbox is inundated with people who are like, "Hey, invest in me, do do da 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 da." How do you filter and how do you kinda scout talent? I would love to hear. You don't have to tell your secret sauce because 'cause you're so good at it, but about what you think through.
that's a great question. And it's super timely too, because my team and I finally just put a spreadsheet. You'll appreciate this. There's a spreadsheet behind the method. Um, those who come alongside of us, there's a couple of factors that I think are true, just like anybody. I mean, let's be honest, right? We're in this to make money. We're looking for a unicorn, all of those things. I'd be crazy to tell you that we're not looking. I mean, if you can't back into $1 billion, right? The dollars and cents, I mean, it just doesn't work. So obviously there's scalability, all of the traditional things. What makes a founder different and what I learned early on is our ability to build that trust with the founder, that they trust that we have their best interest at heart and they believe the same and we believe the same of them. And so it really comes down to how much influence do we have. I think our LPs, what people don't really understand is we're having to make financial decisions for people, right? And so for me to be responsible for other people's money, I have to know that I've built that level of trust with that founder, that they're not going to betray that trust. Because if they betray trust that I've given them, or we're not having a trusting relationship with each other, then I'm not being responsible in decisions I'm making for my LPs, right? And so it really comes down to, I know that sounds kind of corny, but do you
No, it's
trust
real.
us? Do you trust us and can we trust you? And sometimes the tech, I see some of the most ridiculously crazy tech. And we tell people we'd love to make introductions for you. And we certainly do that, right? We never stop, making introductions, but they will, if we know that we're not going to be able to build that kind of trust with that founder, they will not, they just won't be port code with us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Well, and I would love for you to talk a little bit about your model. So you alluded to it, like the community you're building, but you have
Mhm.
all these really cool techs that almost are complementary to one another.
Oh, 100%.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I would say that how we complement each other so well is there are things and I don't know how or why this happened, and I guess it's just cuz my guys are just as good at networking as we try to be, right? Helping market them. But a lot of the things that we do will be able to be a component in or consult with or somehow, some way create efficiencies or market differentiators for one another. So, like in my perfect world, and I think this is about to happen, one of our guys, let's just take James with autonomous drones, right? he gets a big contract for his autonomous drones, which is right around the corner. He
Mhm.
needs computer vision modeling, right? Which brings the quantum and the AI guys into that equation. His manufacturing capabilities need automations, which brings in the robotics team and the automation teams. He needs efficiencies with his energy, brings in the battery team, needs efficiency and power, brings in the motor company. So they're all of the companies that are working in our cohort, if you will, they're also complementary. And I think that that's something so fun and so powerful is they're solving things together. I mean, really, you've seen my LinkedIn, right? I mean, it's 1 plus
It's
1
this
equals
team.
3.
It's just everybody. Yes, I love it.
It is. It's 1 plus 1 equals 3, and that's exactly what is so fun about what we do and so fun about our job is that we have created, a really cohesive group of people that work together to solve, these complicated things.
Well, I think it's cool what you're building. I also wanna ask, what are you most excited about? What tech do you get the most excited about?
Whew, that is interesting. Um I'm most excited. This is going to sound weird based on what you know that our thesis, right? Mobility and defense and dual use and all that. What I get most excited about is where this will all intersect with DeFi and how what I know you and I talked about it a little bit, but I really believe, and I it's part of the reason that I try to stay with my finger on the pulse of what happens with DeFi. I want to be part of a conversation, and I want for us to be able to solve for those ways that people who have large DeFi assets can figure out a way to enter into and support what we do. I think it's just a matter of time before we paper in the right type of oversight. And maybe that is a few points here and a few points there in order to make it all, feel like we know where our DeFi is being deployed. I think there's ways to do that, but I certainly want to be a part of what sets that bridges the gap between the DeFi assets and our early stage tech, because I think it helps us spin up tech really quickly and get it out there to, I mean, yes, I want our country and our allied countries to be able to have access to the most cutting edge technology. But I know that in just a few short years after defense tech, it's exactly what we use, right, as consumers. I mean, in right here, my
I
little
love that your
phone.
phone's sparkly. I just love your whole vibe. Like, can I just take a second to say, like, I love that also, I'm in defense tech and dual use tech and deep tech, and let's be honest, it's like 99% men, okay? So I love your whole vibe, the fun shirts, the painting, the sparkly phone, like, it's just so great, like, just owning that space, but we digress. Please keep going.
Well, I mean, I was blessed enough to spend time with a treasure here in San Antonio. We have he was an international treasure. His name's David Monroe, and he has this museum and artifacts and everything, things that he created throughout his life. And all of the things that he created were first for DoD, right? And so it was all created to make the war fighter, be able to communicate and be safer at the end of the day. And so what's really cool is you look at this technology that he created with the cell phone camera. Well, it was created from a military application first, right? And so it trickles down, and we as consumers have the benefit, and we're blessed with some really cool technology that makes it in the hands of defense first. So I know when people say, there's people who don't, they will not invest in what they call defense tech. But I tell them that we want our military to be armed with this first, and then we will see it as consumers, absolutely, positively. And so that's why I get really excited about this sector that we're in.
Well, and also defense tech doesn't always look like weapon systems,
Right.
right? Like,
It's
how about
autonomy.
supply chain, shoring up infrastructure? There's so many different things that I feel like constitute defense tech, that it's not just, people immediately think, oh, weapons or bombs or what, it's like, that's not. it's a fraction
Absolutely.
of it, actually. I would say that's not the larger portion, so that's
Sure.
a good call out for sure.
Yeah. No, I really like the idea of, I mean, and there is, us being safe, um, and and utilizing less and less human lives, right? In order to achieve that. That's the part that makes me so excited when it comes to autonomy and it comes to robotics and those types of things. Anything that we can do. My first husband was in the military, and I remember what it was like when he deployed. That's a scary thing when you don't know if your loved one is going to come home. So things that we're doing to help us, hopefully, we're going to figure out ways to get out of conflicts before it comes to that. But I certainly like the idea of us having to rely on humans, less so when it comes to protecting our board, our space on this rock.
No, I love that. Well said. Okay, I'm gonna transition a little bit. I have my questions in my mind, which I did not share with you previously. So I just want everyone in the audience to know she's just offering answering this off the cuff. So like a professional, I think it would be really interesting to hear your perspective because you are go to market focused and you do have that background. If a founder is an engineer, especially or a scientist, because we have some life sciences founders here too that listen in, like their whole thing is they do what they do really, really well. Go to market might not be something that they think about. What are some best practices? What are some things from your playbook that you're willing to
Mhm.
share that they could consider?
Yeah, you've been on panels with me before, so I feel like I beat this drum a lot. But I'm a unit economics girl. Like those SAMs, I teach it, right, to the high school kids that I coach. SAM, SOM, TAM, all that kind of stuff. I get it and I understand why those are units that are in a pitch deck. But when it comes down to how many customers do you have to obtain? How much are they paying for said thing? How does that compare to other things that are in the market? Are you having to educate them? Or is it like this or like that? I mean, that exercise, I think, has transformed so many founders that I've worked with to really sit down and do the unit economics, and then flush that out versus an actual real customer, right? Having those phone calls and talking to people. I think we lose a lot of that as we get older. We forget the fundamentals of you got to pick up the phone and have conversations with customers. Would you pay for that? What are your pain points? I think a lot of times founders, we create things in a vacuum based on our experience, so it's not coming from nowhere. But if we're not talking to our customers and we haven't figured out our unit economics, I think we waste a lot of time in that go-to-market strategy.
Yeah, well said. Well, and I heard somebody say this once, so it's not from me, but they were like, no founder wants someone to say that their baby's ugly. And so it is this idea of like, okay, you have this thing that you built and you want everyone to love it, but were you building it for them the whole time? Like you said, are you having those conversations at every iteration or only at the end when you launch?
Right.
Which then now they can say, well, that's not what we wanted at all.
Exactly.
Which is unfortunate, which is then now you're in big trouble. So
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
oh my gosh, no, I love that. Well, I want to give you space to say anything else that might be on your mind. We always keep these short and sweet, but I feel like we could probably chat forever about all the things. But is there anything that you really want to tell founders or funders on the other side, kind of as we close?
Yeah, I mean, I think lately I've been very cognizant of this sort of everyone being attached and vested in their region. I think there's something we take for granted that people are networked and that they have the resources that they need. I think that people find it really unusual that we travel as a pack, but I think there is so much beauty in knowing that you're part of a community. And so maybe we lost a little bit of that in COVID and maybe people are a little intimidated by that. Um this, what does this look like now? But when I say like find your team and, pour into that, I think that's encouragement for everybody. I work really hard on the branding, right, of our region. I want for my son when he comes home from college, like I want him to come home. He's in third year engineer at UT in Texas, and I want I want him to feel that sense of community. And whether or not we stay here forever, I think the more that our communities can come around these early stage tech companies and connect the dots for them and support them, I think we're going to see tech spun up and faster than ever. And so, yeah, find your people, find your community, and then those who have a community, like, care for your startups and your tech guys, care for them well, because 'cause they're not always good at communicating what they need. But when they find other guys, we joke around about how probably all of our founders sit somewhere on the spectrum, and we love that. They get they nerd out together, and they find
Love it.
peers, and yeah, so,
That's fantastic. Well,
yeah.
and I think you've done I mean, I think anybody who knows you knows this, but I'm gonna say it for the audience because they might not know you. Any place would be, I think, fortunate to have you and your energy anywhere you went, but you've chosen Texas. And so I know that San Antonio, I mean, I've seen all your posts, but then all the reverberations from that and the cool things that you're building. So if you're in aerospace, space, manufacturing, robotics, you're an engineer, you're doing something cool, and you're in Texas, plug into what Melissa's building. Do it. Do it. It's a huge recommendation. And then we always end with my last question, which is what are you currently reading?
Gosh. I'm again reading Atomic Habits. One of my girlfriends encouraged me to pick. I've picked it up over my life, but I don't think I really sat down. And she reminded me of it the other day. So yeah, Atomic Habits.
Okay, perfect. That's great. Okay, well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I
Thanks for
appreciate it.
having
We'll put
me.
all the links in the description and people can reach out and follow you on LinkedIn. And it was just truly a pleasure. I
It was
appreciate it.
so fun. Thank you.